Oh, thank you. All right, we will call the subcommittee for Senate File 418 to order. This bill eliminates gender identity from the Iowa Civil Rights Code, defines sex, establishes rules for sex and vital records, and regulates gender-related instruction in school. So that's the general description. Do we have another one on? I hear small. I just want to make sure it works over on that one. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll start with an opportunity for opening comments from each legislator. I have none. I've done mine. Then we will go through, and I understand the microphone is there on the corner for folks to come in. What I would ask, if as long as it works, is pro and con 2 minutes apiece. If there's time, we're here for an hour. So if we use up everybody's testimony, I don't mind somebody else coming back up if something hasn't been said yet. This is public input, and I am open to it. So I'm glad you're here, and I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Senator Dawson, any opening?
No, let's make time for public comment.
Senator Blake?
One at a time, I suppose.
Yep.
I will reserve my comments to the end. I look forward to hearing what people have to say.
So I'd like to, if we can try to get it pro and con, I will try that. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes everybody is in one spot. We'll just concede to where people are. But if we could go ahead with the very first.
Chuck Hurley, family leader, in favor. Thanks for bringing this common sense bill, Mr. Chair. It seems especially appropriate that we open this legislative business with prayer, as the Iowa House and Senate have done each day for 179 years. Father, thank you for creating us just the way you did. We ask you to restore your truth, justice, and righteousness, and help us love you and our neighbors. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm testifying in 3 capacities: 1 on behalf of my client, 2 as a lawyer, and 3 personally as a taxpayer, neighbor, husband, father, and grandfather. I represented my same client 18 years ago when gender identity was first added to Chapter 216. We said then that it was a bad idea, and in fact, we're preparing ads against it when Iowa's leading political advisor said, Chuck, you're right, it'll allow males into girls' bathrooms and sports, etc., but almost no one will believe you. Well, now we know. It's past time to repeal this nonsense. 2, as a lawyer, I've followed the Medicaid Supreme Court case and have seen that because of gender identity, in Chapter 216, we Iowans are forced to pay several $millions for permanent sterilizations of previously healthy Iowans through genital mutilation and misapplied hormones, which then require ongoing medical costs. And 3rd, as a taxpayer, I'm outraged to have to pay for that junk medicine. As a neighbor, I'm saddened by the tragedy of forever cutting off any hope of those Iowans having biological children or grandchildren. And finally, as a spouse, parent, and grandparent of 19 females, I'm outraged that biological males have a legal right to force themselves into my wife's, daughter's, and granddaughter's private spaces. Men, it's time we stand up for our girls and women. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have a person to speak against who would like to go up? That looks great.
My name is Barry Stevens. I'm 14 years old. I'm a freshman at Valley Southwoods, and my pronouns are they, them. I've said this in these rooms what feels like 100 times. I deserve your protection, not your harassment. Last week, your Republican colleague, Representative Holt, stated that, trans and LGBTQ people are the laws against trans and LGBTQ people are on shaky ground unless you start taking away civil rights protections from people. Even entertaining this bill, you're hurting me and others similar to myself. You claim to care about Iowa's youth, but during public comments for these abhorrent bills, I've been called wrong, confused, sick, indoctrinated, sinful, and just last week, a contagion because of my gender identity. This bill is cruel, immoral, and dehumanizing. If you actually want to protect Iowans, vote no. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Dr. Evelyn Nickel with Pelpack, absolutely praise Jesus for this bill. Thank you. It rectifies a grievous error from 2007 that basically weaponized Iowa's Civil Rights Code to discriminate against women, Iowa's girls, women, and children, giving protected rights to hypothetical terms used by delusional people for something that is physically non-existent. Because these terms are codified in our law, gender identity is magically elevated to a protected class with preferential treatment and unfair privileges. These abstract imaginary terms must be removed so that other Iowans are not discriminated against. Right now, biological males with gender dysphoria steal biological women's sports achievements and scholarships. They trespass on our privacy. They accost them in women's prisons, restrooms, and locker rooms. We are being robbed of our dignity and respect, and it's morally indefensible. Our taxpayer funds, as said earlier, are used to pay for sex change procedures. Nobody else in Iowa can get elective surgeries paid for by the state. Now, delusional terms are being used to file complaints and lawsuits as this privileged class rides roughshod over our inalienable legal rights, stomping ours with theirs. So what we're asking is make it a fair, equal playing field like it once was, and don't give those extra privileges to these terms. Thank you very much for doing it.
Somebody to speak against the bill. Lady stood up already, but I'll remember you.
Thank you. My name is Betsy Monnet. I'm the Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Iowa. I've written a letter to members of the subcommittee, and I've got copies here for you. It is because I am a disciple of Jesus Christ that I am opposed to this bill. Jesus taught his disciples to love God and to love their neighbors. In both the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke, Jesus told them, "Do to others as you would have them do to you." In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus said, "Truly, I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me." Transgender Iowans are members of my congregations and members of communities across the state of Iowa. They are your neighbors and my neighbors. Jesus calls us to love our neighbors as ourselves. It is unthinkable to remove civil rights and legal protections from people that we love. Every human being is a beloved child of God. That includes every transgender person, along with each one of you, everybody in this room. As marginalized people in our society, transgender Iowans are among the least of these members of my family that Jesus was talking about. If Iowa removes civil rights protections from transgender Iowans, Iowa does the same to Jesus. The work of a legislator is difficult, and I know that there are many pressures on you, and many of those pressures come from individuals or groups who would like to see transgender Iowans erased from the Iowa Civil Rights Act and the Iowa Code. Please do not give in to the pressure to love only some of your neighbors instead of all of them. The golden rule applies to transgender Iowans just as it applies to you and to me. Please defeat this bill and know that you are in my prayers.
This already on. Take it. All right. My name is Brad Lawson, and I'm here on my own behalf, and I'm in support of this bill. I thank you guys for your boldness to bring this bill to subcommittee, and I pray that this gets into law. I ask you to be bold and pass this through and let the country know that we in Iowa believe in science, believe in sex and not gender identity, that we are made male and female, and that the way someone feels today or tomorrow doesn't receive rights that supersede the rights of our daughters and our wives, or receive the same civil rights that women and people like MLK and others fought so hard for in the way that God intended. Returning Iowa back to what has always been known since the beginning of time, Foundations that are rooted in the God-given principles of sex when God stated in Genesis 1:27, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them male and female. God made us male and female and confirmed by science through our God-given design with XX and XY chromosomes. As a husband to an immigrant and a father to two biracial young girls that don't get to choose the color of their skin, I understand the importance of civil rights protections. And I've struggled with the conversations that I would need to have trying to explain to my girls about boys in bathrooms, boys competing against them in sports, and teachers telling and educating them that girls aren't only girls but can be boys. The confusion that we're pushing on our next generation has to stop, and you have this ability with this bill. Our educational system is there to educate our kids based on facts and not feelings. There is no place for gender identity for our most vulnerable population that are already confused by so much in this world, which is only meant to indoctrinate and not to educate our kids. If we start allowing anything the world deems to be civil right protections, we no longer have civil right protections because it no longer has any foundation. Without a foundation of facts and science, we no longer have facts or science, and you have the ability to pass a bill that the majority of the people in Iowa believes this to be true, that men are men and women are women. Do what's right and bring Iowa back to the foundations that are rooted in the God-given principles of sex and not gender identity, that we are male and female, and God, I ask you to give these men and women the courage to pass this bill into law.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
We were a little bit over on that one. We were over on the previous one too, so I thought, okay.
Yeah,
well,
sorry about that.
no, okay, I just want to make sure I'm watching on both sides to make sure that we're even. And I try not to interrupt. Oh, yes, this gentleman was next, and then actually, you're right there. I'll just go right to you.
Do you want to take my seat? And then
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm okay with that twice.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Augustus. I was born in Scottsdale, Arizona, but I went to Cornell College as a two-sport athlete, female two-sport athlete. And I have a poem to read you, but if there is time and opportunity for questions afterwards for a dialogue, I would love to be a part of any questions that you have. I'm going to move forward into what I have. This is my father at birth. This is me as a child right here. This is me on an all-star baseball league, the biggest child right here, at birth female. Meet me where I stand, sitting. When we do not break, we bend. The bowing of an arrow drives it forward. At our center, we are one. The part of you that came before you burdens you into becoming. Roots that shoot, shoots that bloom. There is no shame in the seed. Light is born through evolution and diversity. A healthy ecology is an economy of reciprocity. Where law meets malicious intent, may we abide our highest virtue. A lifetime is the right of the born. Every dandelion a life form. I stand here to be seen, a man who came from she, from her, one of them. I should not like to wear a dress to be me. He, him, they, them, male and female, sperm and egg. She does not define me, and he does not confine me. I am a being, all 30 trillion cells, microbials, and minerals, a life force, not a gender. Life is greater than our pen's command. Can you see me? Here I stand, sitting. I call on us to unify as different cells of one great body. Vibrant while alive, diverse in purpose, manner, and strength, I ask you for the right to be me, into the freedom I was born. Thank you. I'll take your spot. You can stay here. Yeah. Or
He's
you,
on the seat right
are you
there.
in opposition?
Oh, no, yes, I'm in opposition. I'm
You
in
are,
opposition.
okay. Yeah. But they want us to go opposites. They want some.
Oh,
rules
opposite.
for
Okay,
the
my
bill,
bad.
So you can sit
Go right
here.
ahead.
Are you sure?
You're
Okay,
right.
okay,
Really, it's not that correct. You're there.
okay. I'm sorry, everyone. I don't mean to disrupt the process. My name is Lennon. I'm a student at Drake Law School. My father is a pastor and my mother is a teacher, and I love them very much, and they love me very much. I'm here today because if this bill passes, Iowa will be the first state in our country to repeal civil rights that it has already given to a class. And I'm here to tell you that regardless of your beliefs regarding trans people, if you repeal us from the Civil Rights Act, your legacy will be taking away rights and being the first state to do so. That will be your legacy. And I ask you now, is that what you want? History has its eyes on you right now. If you take this away, that will be your legacy forever. Nothing you ever do will ever be as significant, and that will be all you are remembered as. I am proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be an Iowan. I'm proud of my friends and my family who have worked to make this state and this country amazing and to be what it is, to teach our students. And by the way, I want to correct something that is profoundly incorrect. Trans people don't want your kids to be trans. Shocker. We just want them to be whoever it is that they are. And frankly, we just want to be left alone. We don't want anything from you. Just leave us alone. I don't show up to your church and tell you to believe what I believe and to do as I do. You know what? If you wanna not like trans and gay people and any other marginalized group, like, go be you. I'm not gonna force you to believe what I believe, okay? All we're asking is to leave us alone and to let us live as everybody else in this state lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Bro? Yeah. Thank you. Go right ahead.
Is that right? All right. My name is Todders. I'm father of 4 daughters. You may remember my oldest, Ainsley, 3 years ago, this very time, leading the way on the Save Girls sports effort. And that's really when the jig was up on this entire thing, because showed up to a subcommittee meeting and she brought about 50 of her friends along with her from across the central Des Moines area. And instantly, the Democrats went into caucus and stayed there for hours. I thought all the arguments were so fantastic about this, like the ones we're hearing today. Why did they go hide? Because everybody knew. Cameras were rolling just like they are right now. And they saw those girls were the first ones on this line saying, enough. And now all we have to do is follow their lead. It's really not any more complicated than that. Because after what you've just heard, the reality is my daughters don't go to Carlisle anymore because they were harassed by the very group now who claims to be the victim over and over and over again, because they said a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl and you're not taking our sports, and because they said porn does not belong in our schools. And it was documented over and over again, so much so that the principal of Carlisle High School said, well, we just can't suspend everybody. That was the LGBT community who was doing that to them. So that whole notion of you just want to be left alone, my children weren't being left alone, and all they did was come and speak publicly like I'm doing right now. Not only that, when I spoke publicly on social media, as is my right to defend my family and on these issues. I had the cops called on me by teachers. I had cease and desist letters sent to me. Nothing ever came of it because the bullying comes from that side. I think we're done here with this game. All right? Love really means we're not going to lie to one another. And certainly not in the name of God. We're not going to lie to one another. Did God really say? Yeah, he said very early, male and female, he created him. We're done here, right? Enough. 3 years is long enough.
Yes.
All right. I'm before you today, a trans man, a dad of 2, a daughter, 14, a son, 8. I'm a disabled United States Marine Corps veteran who served in Operation Enduring Freedom. I'm a Master in Public Health recipient, a healthcare worker, an Iowan tax-paying resident. I want to take this to sports. Did you know that trans girls, as it stands right now in Iowa, legally cannot play in sports? We're hyperfixated on a situation that doesn't even exist because our trans girls are discriminated against every single day. Nationally, only 100 trans women play in sports. 100. And that number gets even smaller as we focus on K through 12 schools, even smaller than 100. When I relocated my family here in May, we were excited to be among a state that was the first to pass gay marriage, a signal of welcoming safety, a place to rest, a place to let our guard down. Today, I'm before you guarded and so very afraid for my children. I am before you with the knowing that families just like mine will be stripped of our basic freedoms. That's exactly what you are calling for in this bill. And how dare we sit here today and name a man like Martin Luther King, who fought for people just like me. We'll be stripped of housing and healthcare. We'll be stripped of the ability to move through our community safely and with courage. We have seen an increasing rise in health crisis calls from trans kids and adults alike, afraid for their lives. I had to hear of a trans man, who had his body pulled out of a field after being sexually assaulted for 2 months on end. And stories like that exist for trans people day in and day out. We're afraid that we will not receive access to the healthcare that I pay into insurance for every single month. Whew, and let me tell you how much that cost. No one pays for my health insurance. No one pays for my healthcare. No one pays for my medication. That happens when I pay into a very expensive healthcare plan. This is all over a very private matter, my gender. I served my country for your safety. Where's that return safety and assurance for me and my family? We know that Iowans are leaving the state at an alarming rate, and we can't hold on to graduates after they leave college. They don't want to fill our jobs in this state because of bills like this. We continue to drive out healthcare workers, our public servants, our taxpayers. You would think we would want to focus our attention on that, our cancer rates, our struggling agriculture, our seniors who lack access to care and housing and food. But here we all sit talking about a population who is so small, who just simply want to live. What will you choose for your focus to be on? Thank you.
We have a pro who is probably looking at about 3 minutes. Yeah, I mean, we'll go a little long. It's not gonna get into, I mean, really, we're above a shouting match, you know, you have to stop talking or not. I'm comfortable, folks, letting somebody develop a thought and then just being even about it. I hope everybody thinks that's a good way to do it.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Keeter, and today I'm speaking as a private citizen in support of this bill. I am a woman that is an adult human female. I'm a wife and a mother. Iowa should lead the way in bringing light and truth to this nation. Not my truth, not your truth, but the truth, the only truth. God created us male and female. He did not make a mistake in how he created us. In regards to the Civil Rights Code, the Civil Rights Code protects immutable characteristics. Gender identity is not an immutable characteristic, as was pointed out by Justice Samuel Alito in December during oral arguments in United States versus Skermetti. Having gender identity in the Civil Rights Code directly contradicts the civil rights given to sex, specifically women. You can't tell women their spaces and their rights will be protected, and then in the same breath allow men, counterfeiting as women, to invade those spaces. The radical gender ideology movement continues to rip away the things that make women unique. And cowardice corporations and government officials have bowed the knee to this ideology for years, with the collateral damage being women. If anyone is being erased from society, it is me, a woman, a mother. Radical gender ideology advocates have hijacked women's sports and invaded women's private spaces. And yes, Iowa has done things to reverse this to protect women, but when gender identity is left in the Civil Rights Code, that risks that all being taken away.
You're good.
Ideology advocates have also degraded mothers by referring to us as pregnant persons, birthing persons, and breastfeeding as chest feeding. The governor of Wisconsin has gone so far as to call us inseminated persons. Talk about insulting and dehumanizing. Terminology matters, and it's time to end these disrespectful practices. I have carried my babies in my womb. I have birthed my babies. I have breastfed my babies. I have known the love and loss of motherhood. A man, no matter how much makeup he wears, hormones he takes, or how he will mutilate his body, will ever be a woman, nor will he ever understand what it means to be a woman or a mother. Please stand for the women and mothers of this state and not allow us to continue to be erased. Thank you for having the courage to bring forward this bill.
Somebody speak against.
Hello, thank you for your time today, members of this committee. I urge you to vote no against this bill. My name is Christian Mall. I'm a resident of Urbandale. I am a husband. I am a father. I'm a small business owner. I contribute to the economy and the tax base here in Iowa and happy to do so. Here's the thing. I also happen to be a transgender man. So what that means is I have female listed on my birth certificate. Under this bill, that would do a number of things that are devastating to me and others in this room that have already spoke. But I want to let you know that I want the same thing as I think everyone in this room and all other Iowans want. I want the freedom to flourish. And with this bill, I will not be able to do so. I'm going to have a whole new set of worries on my mind every single day. I'm going to have to worry about if I'm going to be potentially kicked out of a space that I lease, whether that's a home or a business space, if I had a job, if I would be fired from that job, if I would be denied a small business loan. This Civil Rights Act covers all sorts of things that many people don't even realize, including banking. So the ability to function as an adult is going to be impacted for every single trans Iowan. Additionally, will I be able to take my family out for dinner on a Friday night and still go to our favorite restaurant? Or are they going to have a large sign in the window that says, "We do not serve trans people"? If you pass this bill, businesses will be able to openly discriminate against transgender Iowans at will. Finally, I want to address the bathroom subject. So a lot of speakers have already talked about, reserving women's bathroom spaces or locker rooms. I will be in your bathroom. Do you all understand that? I have female on my birth certificate. Your bill will require me to use public restrooms that are designated as women's restrooms. When I go to work out at Lifetime, I'm going to have to go into the women's locker room from now on. That will not feel safe or comfortable for me, and I'm sure not for any other women that are in that space. So I urge you to consider that fully when you're thinking about those types of public spaces, okay? Additionally, I just want to ask you legislators to really have the guts to own what this bill is about. It is about erasing transgender people from the state of Iowa. And I know you won't say that publicly, but that is exactly what this is meant to do. Those of us who have the financial means and ability will leave the state. We absolutely will. I'm not going to continue living in a state where I have to use the women's bathroom. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. Those of us who cannot leave the state because we don't have the financial means are going to be forced back into the closet, into hiding, into denying who we actually are, and not able to live our full, true lives. And that is going to have a devastating toll physically and mentally on those Iowans. Okay, I'll just wrap it up quick. I know, and I thank you for the extra time. If you don't personally know a transgender person, senators, I would be most willing to sit down and talk with you, have a cup of coffee here at the Capitol. I will pass along my phone number. Sincerely, reach out, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
3 minutes are available.
Good morning. My name is Anita Fisher, and I am with Protect My Innocence. We are registered in favor of this bill. So as many of you might be aware, the community of Pella was shocked and outraged in the summer of 2021 when a 15-year-old girl went topless at the local pool because she identified as a male. Citizens were outraged about this form of gender expression and called out to their city council for help. After conversations with the city attorney, the city council publicly stated that they would not take any further action as gender identity law would lead to litigation. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday after the initial occurrence, an adult couple from Des Moines attended the pool. The man wore a bikini bottom with a poorly covered scrotum, and the woman wore a bottom but was topless with tape covering her nipples. They came in support of the 15-year-old. Several concerns were expressed by pool lifeguards ages 15 to 22 years old. A supervisor resigned from the pool after being employed there for approximately 30 years. Younger concession workers quit. 10 employees were told that they would lose their job if they walked out, as there was no violation of Iowa law. Well, they resigned. Anyone who resigned from the pool has been red flagged to prevent them from obtaining any city job in the future. Thousands of dollars of revenue have been lost as children and families are now enjoying the conveniences of privately owned pools. These homeowners do not have to cower under gender identity laws. And we aren't the only pool that had this happen. Also, these forms of gender expression happen in Jefferson, Orange City, Seymour, and Sioux Center. So what we have developed over these years is thousands of signatures across Iowa of people who are asking their legislators to remove gender identity out of the law. Thousands all across Iowa. And I'm sure there's a whole lot more because we're just one small organization. Now, as a Republican, I want to remind legislators that if you look at the 2024 District Republican Party platform under Liberty, Section 1, the people have asked, we call for the repeal of sexual orientation and gender identity as a protected class in the Iowa Civil Rights Code. That is our grassroots citizens asking for your help. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being willing to be men who are standing up for children and women in Iowa.
Thank you. 2 minutes for an opposition voice.
Hello, Senators. Keenan Crow, 1 Iowa. We are registered firmly against this bill. First and foremost, this legislation has absolutely nothing with sports. You won't see anything about sports or athletics in the bill whatsoever. It's also not about keeping the Civil Rights Code restricted to immutable characteristics. Both religion and disability status are mutable. And I hope everybody in this room, I would hope, actually would agree that those belong in that code. What this bill does is allow discrimination against transgender people, period, the end. It's unfair, it's cruel, and it's immoral. This bill explicitly allows employers to fire someone for no other reason than that they are or are suspected to be transgender. That is immoral. The bill explicitly allows landlords to deny someone an apartment for no other reason than they are or are suspected to be transgender. That is immoral. This bill explicitly allows banks and lenders to deny credit cards, car loans, and life insurance to someone for no other reason than that they are transgender or are suspected to be transgender. Again, that is immoral. You could take out any one of those components and still get what you say you want out of that bill. You don't have to deny transgender Iowans access to employment, credit, or housing. This is a choice. I can agree to disagree with folks in this building about a great number of things, from what tax rates we should set to what the best way to structure and streamline our government happens to be. But when it comes to allowing people to be denied access to shelter simply because of who they are, I cannot compromise. Please, please, beg you, vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Danny Carroll. I represent the family leader, and we're in support of the bill, as you've already heard from a previous speaker. Mr. Chair, people of Iowa are good people. They're fair-minded. Throughout some of these hearings and testimony, we've heard a lot words like hate and condemnation and judgment, and that's not Iowa, and everybody knows it. What you're here about today is public policy. As I told a friend of mine who is not of my sexual orientation. I said, John, this is not personal. You and I simply have a difference in what we think public policy should be. Now, no doubt, Iowans of goodwill in 2007 thought that they were doing the right thing by adding gender identity to the Civil Rights Code, and did so out of good intention. But now, these many years later, there has been that thing we mention around here quite often, unintended consequences. They did not realize or know when they passed that somehow public restrooms were suddenly going to become an issue of controversy. And just because someone who looks like a man uses my restroom and I don't notice it because I have been deceived because of a clever appearance, that's not my fault. Good grief. They didn't know what was going to happen in our prisons and prison cells because of this gender identity misguided public policy. No one had any idea in 2007 that we were going to permanently sterilize people in Iowa through gender mutilation and then hand the bill to the taxpayer. And that if small employers would be vulnerable to legal complaints because they decided they did not necessarily want a man looking like a woman working in their preschool. I don't mean to be condemning and uncritical, and I don't think anybody's going to be denied any access to an apartment. I know a lot of landlords, they want you to take care of the place, pay your rent on time, and be a good neighbor. And they don't give a tinker's hoot what you look like. Just be a good renter. So thank you for returning to public policy that's based on sound truth and well-established facts. Have I burned up my 3 minutes?
Yeah, you have. The next person gets that time now, but that's way okay. So we're at what, 12:37? So I mean, so that's why we're letting things just flow. Letting things go ahead. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Tanya Keith, and I am a mother and a business owner in Des Moines, Iowa. I am here because this bill makes life difficult for every Iowan whose gender identity is not crystal clear. I am now having to think about, is my gender masculine enough at Menards to not have men offer to help me incessantly? Or is it feminine enough for me to use the bathroom without being questioned? I gave birth to 3 children. I have always been a woman, but that doesn't mean that we don't all know that there are tomboys out there. Gender expression has always existed. We're just using different words for it now. I am here because my daughter was the 2021 salutatorian of Hoover High School, and I would love for them to live wherever they want in the country, but they have fallen in love with a trans person. And it was horrifying to me that I had to worry about my fellow Iowans discriminating against the person that my oldest child has chosen to love because of their gender identity not aligning with their view of how the world should work. That's not Iowan. I am here because I have worked so hard to build a business in Iowa. I moved here from New Jersey. I'm proud to live here for the past 30 years. I have worked hard to build multiple businesses here and contribute to the tax base of Iowa. This is not how I want my taxes spent in Iowa. I want to make Iowa the center for historic preservation across this country. But you know what? I can't do that when you're creating laws that are discriminatory and filled with hate, that create hateful environments. Because when I put out to my national organization that I would like to host a national event, I get asked, well, what are we passing in the state of Iowa? Are the queer members of our organization going to be welcome here? Will they be discriminated against when they go to rent a hotel room? This is hurting our economy. It is hurting our ability to have our children move back to Iowa with whomever they love. It is hurting the business development that I think we all want to see happening in Iowa. And I would just like to say to you, I am not just a woman who works in construction. I am also a woman who supports and loves and writes about soccer. So yeah, I've been a woman in construction and a woman in sports. I will tell you, there's plenty of discrimination in sports against women. When I certified to be a referee for US soccer in 1993, there were only about 18% of the referees in this country that were women. Do you know what that percentage is today? 18%. We have made no progress. So if you want to talk about making progress for women in athletics and sports, I am absolutely here to do that. But criminalizing the dozen of people across this country that maybe come into some thing about sports and women, this is not it. This is not how you protect women in sports. I am a woman in sports, and I deserve to have my ability to have freedom. I don't need men protecting me. I need men stepping up and supporting and being realistic about what's actually happening out there. Thank you.
That timed out well. We're back to a regular base to Pro. We still got 20 minutes left, so I guess it's a 2-minute time slot. If you go over, we'll just offer that time for the next person to. I'll leave that be you.
I'll
Just
try.
move fast and tired.
I'll try for 2. My name is Laura Carlson, and I am a citizen, a mom, a wife. I would love to have any men help me carry my heavy briefcase out to my car at any time. I would welcome any offers of help from people. So man or women, I don't care. I wanted to read to you what the definitions are that we're dealing with here. The internal perception of one's gender and how they label themselves based on how much they align or don't align with what they understand their options for gender to be. Gender fluid, a gender identity best described as a dynamic mix of boy and girl. A person who is gender fluid may always feel like a mix of the two traditional genders, but may feel more man some days and more women other days. I was called a tomboy when I was a kid. I was proud of it. My dad raised 3 of us girls. I know how to gut a fish, fillet a fish, got a deer, pop out perch eyes, go fishing. It didn't change who I am. I'm still a woman. The problem that I see with this gender identity is that we have some people that are misusing it. I'm going to just share a little story with you. I believe the scare tactics are just that by those against this bill. I rise to speak about gender identity and how it's acted out in Iowa. I took my son to the public pool in a nearby community, and upon entering the women's dressing room, discovered to our shock a man changing into his suit. He identified as a woman that day, but was a fully naked man with a penis on display to all of us and our children. We never returned to that public pool. Not everyone uses their belief in a kind, normal, gentle way. I don't need to know what's underneath your clothes. I don't need to know what you do at home in your bedroom. I just want it to be safe and simple for all of us. So I ask you to vote for this bill and move it along so we can continue this discussion. Thank you.
I see one headed to the table. You stay right there. That'd be just fine. Please go ahead.
My name is Jess Bierling from West Des Moines. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to state my opposition to this bill. It took 59 years for the Supreme Court to reverse the separate but equal Plessy versus Ferguson ruling, stating separate is inherently unequal. History has not and will not look kindly on legislated hate. This bill would explicitly go against the Iowa motto of our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain. Additionally, this legislation attempts to dismiss studied and verified scientific data and evidence regarding the existence of transgender individuals, as well as the life-saving effects of supportive transition care. Having identification that identifies me correctly was one of the last major landmarks of my transition. It meant I would be less likely to be harassed due to my presentation differing from my ID. When I was a child, there were trans people who had learned how to navigate life living as they were, but they were more likely to hide their past for safety considerations. Since then, the world has become more interconnected, and when I came out in 2009 to myself and 2014 in public on the front page of the Des Moines Register, I didn't have to feel alone. When I graduated from Drake University in 2012 and was job searching, the gender identity civil rights protection was a significant factor for me staying in Iowa. I knew I would be starting to transition in the next few years, and I needed to know it'd be illegal to fire me when I came out eventually at work. I expected to lose a lot when I came out, including my family, friends, and my job. Having my job protected by the Iowa Civil Rights Act made it easier to move forward. But more importantly, while I expected to be alone, I made a lot more friends after transitioning. because I was happier and not hiding. And in response to statements that this bill is about protecting women in locker rooms and bathrooms, you can never tell by looking how someone was assigned at birth. Twice in 11 years, I have had somebody look at me and turn around and leave a restroom without saying a word. But my non-binary and masculine presenting friends who were assigned female at birth have shared their experiences of being verbally harassed far more often, either off entering restrooms or while using it for the intended purpose. The protections you think this bill will provide will only cause unnecessary harm on the people you say you are trying to protect. The tiny percentage of Iowans that are trans just want to live our lives without being outcast. We are, have been, and will be fellow Iowans. Thank you.
Go right ahead. You're up there. That one was 30 seconds over. We're not going to get real picky about it, but just. But if you're against the bill, then that doesn't apply. That credit doesn't go forward.
Hi, my name is Jax. I am a husband, I'm a parent, and I look forward to speaking today. There are a lot of misconceptions about what we the trans community want, and I want to start with that. It's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Crazy, I know. We want the same thing every other person wants when they set out to make their own American dream a reality. If you don't like trans people, don't transition. If you don't want to spend money on gender affirming care, then don't get gender affirming care. We don't want your children or ours to be queer because we know how much harder it is to grow up queer. We just want kids to live happy and healthy lives. If you support this horrendous bill, it's going to be obvious that you don't want to help Iowans, you want to control them. If you don't want to protect people, you want to erase anyone that's different from you. No matter where you stand with this bill and what happens after today, we the trans community are going to be here. We're not going to stop fighting for our fundamental rights because many of us will die fighting for our basic human rights before we detransition because someone didn't like that we chose to live in our own bodies. And to anyone who wants this bill to pass or votes for this bill, when your kids or your grandkids are mistreated and disowned because they came out trans or queer, my community is going to be the one that will show them love and acceptance because it's obvious yours won't. Thank you.
Do you have any pros? We must be there. We go now. Couple minutes, and 30 seconds.
Thank you. My name is Deb Davis. I live in Johnston. I am here speaking for myself. I am in support of this bill. First, I would like to say thank you for your time and service to our state. I know you put in way more hours than anyone ever sees. This bill is just common sense. There are two sexes, male and female, as biologically determined at birth and in the womb. The rights of biological females need to be protected. I also do not want my Iowa tax dollars being spent on elective hormones and genital surgeries of others. If someone chooses to identify as something other than the sex assigned to them in the womb and at birth, that should not impinge upon the rights of those functioning in the sex assigned by God in the womb and at birth. Some in here may not think they are pushing their views on others, but you are by forcing biological males into girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports. This bill will still protect the right of a person to identify however they choose, dress how they choose, and all of their other rights, just the same as the rest of us. I firmly believe that no one should be bullied or ridiculed or harassed, which includes everyone here. Each person has a God-given purpose and destiny setting inside of them, just waiting to be discovered. I pray we can each find that. Ultimately, this bill will simply protect our female designated spaces for biological females, such as in bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports. I personally do not want biological males in the female restrooms I use, and this has happened to me in this Capitol building. I felt violated. There are other restrooms in here that people can use that are private, but some people chose to use the restroom down here that has a bunch of stalls in it. And I certainly do not want that for younger girls in bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports.
Basically, as I see it, you have one of two choices. It is impossible to support both, as some of the rights of one cancel the rights of others. You can either uphold biological women's rights, or you can support those who choose to be something other than their God-given sex. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Timber Stevens. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a student here in the Des Moines Metro. I've watched as anti-queer rhetoric and legislation have grown in our state year after year to the benefit of no one. One might think that because we are in need of young workers, we would protect their rights, but instead we have been fighting an enemy that is not here. Today, I'm here for my queer friends and family that have been often painted as villains to ask that you do not let this bill pass, as it purposely targets and harms them. Like most legislation of this kind, it is needlessly harmful and otherwise useless. In this shaky time, the citizens you are representing are looking to you to protect them. Passing this bill would be yet another betrayal to queer Iowans from their own government. For all of these reasons, I'm currently ashamed to call myself an Iowan, because we can do better. Please vote no on this bill.
Hi there, Chair and committee. My name is Robert Nazario from Hardin County, Iowa. I am a grandfather of 5. I have 4 granddaughters. This bill is easy on its surface, as many have stated so eloquently already. We do not want to harm any communities. God loves us all just as we are, but we must provide the protection to the women and little girls in society. It is something horrendous to think that my grandchildren can be in a locker room, sharing a locker room with a male identifying as a woman. Our civil rights code in many red states don't allow what we have here. It was wrong in 2007 to put this into law, to have a protective class over the rights of our little girls, women in sports. You know, we normally see it that way instead of, you know, having a trans man or a woman inside a man's bathroom. But it's an easy decision here. We must protect society as God made us, male and female. We cannot change our sexes. It is defined by God, and we are created in his image, like the gentleman said so eloquently before me. So I urge the passage of this bill, and I thank you for bringing it forward. Thank you.
Hello, I want to tell you the story of a young girl named Skylar, who was born to loving parents, Jack and Melissa, in Waverly, Iowa. The family struggled with poverty and life was not kind. She spent half of first grade in her younger sister Callie's hospital room in Iowa City, not knowing if she'd ever wake from a coma. As the medical debt piled up, the family moved school districts in search of better opportunities. As a 9-year-old, Skylar was awoken by screams and being slung over her dad's shoulder as he carried her to safety, wading through knee-deep floodwater. The family watched as their home and all of their possessions were swallowed whole. The family was without a place to go, no clothes, no food, and no way for anyone to get in or out of Clarksville, yet the local community provided. Shortly after, the family moved to Janesville, the 3rd home and school district in 3 consecutive years. At 14, she began working to help support her family. Despite this volatile upbringing, Skylar devoted her life to the community. She was active in church, regularly volunteered, and always offered a helping hand to anyone in need. She dreamed of one day being the first in her family to go to college. Fast forward, Skylar was valedictorian, got a full ride scholarship, graduated from UNI, works her dream job supporting Iowa's entire nonprofit sector today. She met a great man, got married, bought a house, started a business, and to this day dreams of raising a family in the Iowa communities that raised her. Skylar is loved by thousands in Northeast Iowa and across the state. I'm Skylar, and my pronouns are they, them. This is my life, my story. And if you feel differently about me now than you did about Skylar, about me mere seconds ago, it is because you are willfully denying the humanity of trans people. Does my hair, the clothes I wear, and the words others use to describe me negate my right to protection from discrimination? We all have families, communities, hardships, and aspirations, just like all of you. Today, dozens of Christian denominations wholly support and stand behind me as a trans person. If your faith beliefs disagree, know that you do not speak for the whole of Christianity, especially here in Iowa. I implore you to see my humanity and vote no to revoking my civil rights as a proud, born and raised Iowan who happens to be trans. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this hearing. My name is Brett Doty. I'm a citizen here, and I am the father of a daughter. As I've observed what's going on in this room today, it's very clear that truth has to be told and has to prevail. There are hurting people and hurt people here. That is without a doubt. The way we overcome hurt is by speaking truth. Sometimes truth is painful. The fact is, as a disciple of Christ, I must follow all of God's word. And God's word says that he created them male and female. That is the truth. It's that simple. I certainly understand the hurt and the pain in the trans community and know that I, as a disciple, do not hate you. I would love to have a conversation with you. I would love to share with you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that your God did not make a mistake when he created you. You are loved more than you could ever imagine. The fact is that God created us male and female, and that's the truth. Thank you.
After I've read off the time a few times, I lost track of the time. We've got 3 minutes left. We began with a proponent of the bill. We'll end with an opponent of the bill. So this will be the last speaker. And then we'll go to legislators and. Do you all ask questions? Do you all get to ask questions? That's not usually. This is the public input. Okay. Please go ahead.
I am an Iowan and a trans man. I am proud to be one of those things today. It is not an Iowan. I take care of your sick family members in service to humanity, yet you want to make me homeless and deny me health care. How exactly are you serving humanity here? If this bill passes, people are going to die. You will have blood on your hands. Kids are going to kill themselves because you are taking away their health care. Adults are going to lose their jobs and not be able to take care of their children. Families will be homeless and on the street. Who are you to define who people are? Who are you to play God? I've heard God mentioned so many times here today that you would think that separation of church and state isn't protected by the Constitution. Stripping Iowans of their civil rights is unconstitutional. Which side of history do you really want to be on here? What you are doing is wrong. Please do not pass this bill. When in history do you recall a government body stripping an entire class of people of their civil rights still be considered to be the good guys? When? It's never too late to do better. It's never too late to stand up for what is right and just, and you have the unique opportunity to shock the world today by scrapping this cruel bill. History will remember you for one of two reasons. One, they will remember you as a hateful politician who played a puppet in a harmful regime, or they will remember you as a person with courage and bravery enough to stand up against it and encourage your counterparts to follow. We can do better for our fellow Iowans, for our fellow Americans. So if cruelty is not the point of this bill, then what is?
Thank you very much. That will conclude our public input then, and we'll move So that'll conclude our speakers here today then. Thank you for the input. I'd like to point out, yesterday was a much more tumultuous. I'm very grateful and proud of the Iowans on both sides of the issue who did things who did things right. So today's a good day. I guess I'll go to legislator comments. Anybody want to go ahead?
Yeah, I would just echo the chair's comments here. I'll be very brief to leave time for, for the persons to speak here, but I would just say these are tough issues. These are issues that have, I think someone mentioned earlier on, been around for centuries, right? Whether it be gender identity or gender expression, there is nothing that is going to be solved here today in this public input. But I do give kudos to both sides for the fact that this was done in absolutely respectful dialogue. People can disagree there, but it was, for the most part, respectful dialogue. I would approach it from this, while it's undeniable that gender identity and gender expression has been around humanity for centuries. What also is undeniable is that the legal instances since 2007 have multiplied here in the last few years. I do believe this is to correct the unintended consequences of those legal instances. So I will support the bill.
First, I want to say thank you to everybody here today. And for those that have heard me before, I'm fighting back a cold, so I apologize that my voice is a little bit hoarse. But thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you for everybody who stood up today that was fighting for your rights, fighting for your right to exist, and fighting for your ability to have a voice here today. I'm going to be clear from my perspective of what this bill does. This bill strips away the rights of Iowans in the state of Iowa. We will be the first time in state history and maybe in US history that we are going to be taking away liberties that have been granted and stripping them away from a group of individuals in the state of Iowa. If this bill were to pass, we will have Iowans that will be able to be discriminated against because of the way they look and the way they identify. They will be denied housing. They will be denied access to finances. They will not be denied employment. They will be denied existing. If this bill was focused on many of the issues that proponents of the bill talked about related to bathrooms and things like this, why are we stripping those protections away? What this bill does is trying to eliminate a group of individuals here in the state of Iowa. And to be clear, this bill does more than hurt trans Iowans. It hurts all Iowans. It hurts women. It hurts men. It hurts everybody in this state. While it impacts one group specifically, it impacts us all. And again, I will spend a lot more time speaking in committee and on the floor, so I'm trying to keep my comments brief. But one thing I want to say is the founders of our nation warned us about today. They warned about the tyranny of the majority, prosecuting and using the force of government to impact and target a minority in this state. And that is what's happening today if this bill passes. So I have a lot more to say, I promise you, but I'm trying to keep it brief. But thank you all for being here today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, senators. I'm going to go ahead and sign the bill out where we will have Judiciary Committee tomorrow. I've spoken to you about that. I appreciate everybody on both sides. I really don't have much. There will be plenty of discussion in maybe not so much committee, but certainly we'll have a full-throated floor debate on this. So with that, I thank everybody and I appreciate you coming in, and I will adjourn this subcommittee.